we go, and I think we're live. Is my microphone working? 1, 2, yeah, seems to be working. Good evening everyone, it's Mike here, Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. It is Monday the... Oh, apparently I've got a now live on your channel, low cost 1080p gaming PC build. That'd be me, but that's no good, I wonder what time it is. 10:40, it's Monday the something of February. Not a clue. What date is it, Kath? 17th, there you go, there's your date stamp. Monday, February the 17th, and still suffering with this cold a little bit, so I've got a bit deaf in my ear. It's all going wrong. Hopefully getting over the worst of it now, not so clogged up, but there we go. We move on. So, thought I'd do a impromptu live stream tonight. I've got a build to do, I've got some bits and pieces put together, and I thought, well, I'm going to do it tonight anyway, so I might as well do it with a camera rolling, just so you guys have got something to either love or laugh or whatever you want to do, just to enjoy yourselves. Feel free to put comments in the chat, and I'll do my best to try and keep an eye on them. Obviously I am going to be putting together a PC, so it's difficult to do it. I'm not going to take a break every 5 minutes to read the comments, so Kath will be keeping an eye out on the comments as well, so say hi to Kath, and if you've got any burning questions, feel free to let her know and she'll pass them on to me. But otherwise we'll get straight into it. Well, first of all we'll do the hellos and say hello to those of you that are already joining us. We've got 17 viewers in already. That's pretty incredible for a Monday night. I didn't think anyone would be interested, but obviously some are. So we've got Ghost Adder, we've got Glenn, Angry Doge, we've got Jaya G, I always struggle with that one. Aletta's in the house. Who else have we got? Kev Clicked at UK, how you feeling, mate? You still fluing it up? Seaman Knight's in the house. Mike does his Count from the Sesame Street impersonation. I used to do that quite a lot actually. Stephen Simmons is in the house as well. And we got a few others, so that's some of the hellos done in the pleasantries. Let's get on with this thing, shall we? Right, so tonight we're going to be doing a very cost-effective build for PC. This is for 1080p gaming, really at the low end of the market. This is kind of scraping the barrel, but all of it is designed so that there's upgrade options available. Upgrade the processor, upgrade memory, all those kinds of things if you want to. This is really at the cheap end of the market. Now, to my reckoning, all these parts, including the case and everything, works out to be just slightly under £250, which for a full PC with Windows actually seems like a pretty good bargain, especially when you take into account the costs of like an Xbox console or a PS4, or even if you're looking forward to the PS5 or the new Xbox, then this is actually a really good entry level into PC gaming. And of course you get all the flexibility that you'd normally get from a desktop PC. So you've got your internet, you've got your downloads, you've got iTunes, streaming, YouTube obviously, all those kinds of things, nice and easy to do, super flexible, not a lot of money outlaid. So if you work out, well, PC gaming isn't my thing, or I'm not that into computers, so I don't get on with a keyboard and mouse, or whatever the reason is, £250 or thereabouts isn't a huge amount of money to invest in a PC or PC project. And you can quite easily flip it, do a little bit to it, and sell it on Facebook Marketplace or eBay or whatever it is. Sell it to a friend, neighbor, relative, whatever, I don't care, just do it, enjoy it, etc, etc. What am I blathering on about? I really don't know. It's really hot in here tonight.
It is.
We've had the heating on all day because we've taken a week off work, and yeah, we've had the heating on today, and it's darn warm in here tonight. It's about 23, 24 degrees, which is pretty warm, and it's a bit warm if you're actually building a PC, but what the heck, we'll get on with it anyway. So let's introduce the parts first of all. So this is obviously the important stuff. So first of all is the case, which you possibly have seen already, which was the Gamemax Diamond. This is the white version, as you can see. Well, hopefully you can. Quite a strange or unusual looking case. Got tempered glass, got a basement section. Pretty much ticks all the boxes, but it's actually really cheap. Look, about £40 in the UK, so yeah, looking forward to doing a build on it. It's actually really well built, and everything is like super tight construction. Even taking the side panels off is actually quite a struggle. It's all really well put together, which for a cheap case, which I consider that to be a cheap case, £40, especially when you can spend money like the Lian Lees and things like that, which cost multiple hundreds of pounds. For £40, for my money, I think that's a fantastic bargain. Anyway, so that's the case we're going to be using. Let's work our way this way. So next up is a power supply. So we're going to be using the CIT ATV 500 watt. This is a bronze rated power supply, which is caused a lot of kind of controversy actually. A lot of people are saying CIT, don't do it, it's going to light on fire, it's not a good thing. But my counteraction to that is, it's got the 80 plus bronze on there, it has to have passed some sort of certification during the testing process. It can't be all bad. And to be fair, with the kind of very low end components we're using, we should be absolutely fine. 500 watts is more than enough for what we're going to be drawing here. Realistically, power draw wise, motherboard and processor, this thing is not a lot. It's like 50 watts, thereabouts, 55 watts I think it is. It's a really low current draw. The graphics card is going to be possibly the main draw in the system, which is a R9 380X, which is probably going to draw about 200, 225 watts under full load. So yeah, we're still well within the power margins of what could potentially be a problem. So we're about 50, 60% of our peak performance out of this power supply. So all should be good. Moving on, so we're going to use an SSD, a very cost-effective SSD. This is the TC Sunbow. This is the X3 model, 240 gig. Picked this up just before Christmas actually, bargain price, I think it was like £20 or something. So for an SSD, absolute bargain price, you can't go wrong for that. Power supply wise, I think that was just under 30. So kind of £50 for your power supply and your storage solution is pretty insane. Add on £40 for the case, we're about £90. It really is kind of low end stuff, but not bad, half decent. It's certainly a lot better than a mechanical hard drive. So processor wise, we're going with the old faithful. This is the Athlon 200GE from AMD. This is a 2-core, 4-thread processor, so really it is really scraping the barrel. But the beauty of this is, because it's on the AM4 platform, if you do want to upgrade it at a later date, say you get a bit of money at Christmas, birthday or whatever, you can always get a new processor, stick it on this board, and you're going to be good to go. Ideally, an upgrade from this would be something like the Ryzen 5 1600AF, which would be an amazing upgrade for this and would certainly give it a lot more longevity and a lot more leg room and wiggle room for playing better games, higher resolutions, more detail, all that kind of stuff, or just multitasking in general. So this whole system, even actually if you took this out of the equation and replace it with the Ryzen 5 1600, these retail about £55. If you spent an extra £40 or so and got the Ryzen 5 1600, again, £300 or less for a gaming PC, that would be phenomenal. Anyway, moving on. So RAM wise, ignore the box, well, kind of ignore the box. The RAM is it says on there 2933, it's actually 2666 in here. So we've got two 4 gig sticks, so only 8 gigs. But again, we're at the bottom end of the market. We're trying to scrap together as much performance as we can for as little money as we can. Again, this is the sort of thing you can pick up for about £30. If you want to double up to 16 gigs, around about £60 these days on the market, which is again, fantastic value for money. If you're looking to buy RAM, now is definitely the time. I think we're at the kind of the bottom part of where we're going to be RAM wise. I think it will start steadily climbing. DDR5 is kind of just around the corner, so yeah, not sure what happens then, but generally that is when kind of everyone offloads the DDR4 and the DDR5 prices kick in, and then everything goes a little bit crazy. But at the moment is a good time to buy RAM, very cheap indeed. This is some cheapy thermal paste I got off of Amazon, which I've been dying to try out actually. This is the HY710. Now this is a very high conductivity paste, which is, I would say, very similar to the older Arctic paste, which were, was it Arctic? Not Thermal Grizzly, there was one which was like a really high metal content, which was really good back in the day. I don't think it's going to be up to the standards of like MX4 and Cryonaut paste, that sort of stuff, but it was very cheap. It was like about £3 or £4 for a huge syringe of it, which has got something crazy like, I think it's about 20 grams of paste if I remember rightly. Can't see it stamped on there now, but yeah, there's a ton of paste there, and that's going to last forever. The last one I bought of that was over 10 years ago, and was the older version, which is the HY510, so we've gone up 200, and this lasted me, yeah, easily 10 years or more. So hopefully this should see me another 10 years, or maybe not. We'll see what it's like. It could be absolutely awful, in which case I'll throw it in the bin, but anyway, you get the idea. Last but not least, I know we've got the graphics card as well still. So this is the motherboard. This is the ASUS Prime A320M-K. Again, this really is, well, it's appropriate for the price. but I would say it's inappropriate for a build. If you're planning on doing a new build, I would definitely say spend an extra £5 to £10 and get a B350 or a B450 chipset. An A320 chipset is not really a great idea. You've got no real overclocking abilities on there, apart from kind of precision boost, that kind of thing. So if you are trying to squeeze as much as you can out of your processor, especially something like the 200GE or maybe the 2200G, then you're going to want to overclock them a little bit. This board doesn't allow any of those features. So this is kind of, for me, it's perfect because this is just going to be built into like a media PC, which is going to be in the living room behind the TV. It's going to be built and probably never touched again for a couple of years until I decide to change it over again, like what I'm doing with the other one. So simplicity, definitely. It was the cheapest board on the market at the time. And actually I bought it purely because I wanted to review it just to see how bad it actually was. And as it turns out, it was actually a pretty decent board. So that is why I'm going to be using it again. So that is that. What else do we have? The graphics card, which is over here. So this is the, well, it's potentially going to be the star of the show. This is the R9 380X. This is a 4 gig card, so nothing too outrageous. And for those of you that have been with the channel for a while, will know that I got this. I think there was a, who was it? Oh, it was I can't remember. It was one of the other YouTubers that we watch, and he said, "Oh, these have come up on eBay. Anybody interested?" So a few of us bought them. Basically, one of the fans didn't work, so I tried it with one fan. It was pretty horrible. So no, it wasn't Matthew. No, it was Tech. I can't think what it was now. Someone will let me know in the comments, but basically it was recommended, so we've replaced the fans on them. And actually this hasn't been a bad card. I've used it in a few systems now and it's been pretty much a-okay. A little bit noisier on the top end because of these fans. They're not the best and they are actually quite small really, and these cards can generate a lot of heat. And also they do draw a little bit of power. Use Tech Hustle, that was it. Thank you whoever that was. I bet that was CIT ATV who posted that. No, Glenn. No, oh Glenn was it? Oh, nice one Glenn. Thank you for that. Again, this is a great little card. It's got DisplayPort, HDMI, and a couple of DVI dual link ports on there. So no VGA, which is a little bit of a shame, but again, depending on what you're going to be using it for. If I was going to be connecting it to a really old monitor, then it might be useful. But DisplayPort, HDMI, and DVI-D, you can't go too far wrong. I don't think you'll pretty much find a monitor these days that doesn't support at least one of those standards. So connectivity-wise, that's going to be absolutely great. So I think that is pretty much all the parts introduced. What do you guys think of it? And girls, obviously. Again, for around about £250, I'll say this card I picked up for about £25–30, I think. So that was a used part. So in fairness, that was quite cheap. But going by the new price of the processor and the RAM, again, sort of £50-ish, £30 for the RAM. Even though I did pick those up used from one of our Discord members. A lot cheaper, so anyway, you get the idea. It's about £250 worth on the table, including the case, which I think is actually a really good entry into PC gaming, and also PCs in general. 80s Horror Fan says, a chap I know called Jason Hyde is watching you. Can you give him a shout out? Yes.
Is that Jason?
Jason Hyde. Hi, how you doing? Jason? What Jason?
That sounds familiar, Jason.
Kath says that sounds familiar. That's worrying. $3.99. Jeff Roberts, what about the operating system? Well, the operating system, as per usual, I'm not going to hold back. I am going to shill completely here. PremiumCDKeys.com is where I'll be getting my license key from. If for some reason, I'm pretty sure if I put my user account in here, this is going to actually pick up my previously registered account even. So that should be fine. If not, I'll be straight over to Premium CD Keys using the discount code MU5, which is Mike's Unboxing 5, and I can pick up a license key from them. I think it works out about €4 at the moment for a license key for a Windows 10 64-bit retail key, which is absolutely fantastic. And actually, in all fairness, very recently I've been getting quite a few emails from various other CD supplying key companies, or CD key supplying companies. Yeah, that's right. I've been getting a few emails and saying, would you like to do a video sort of recommending our keys? And it's like, well, no, actually, I'm sorry, because your prices are way more expensive than Premium CD Keys. So as much as it would be really nice for me and for Kath, and it'd be nice for the bank balance to do the videos and get paid to do them, I'm not going to sell out. I'm not going to recommend somebody buy license keys which are way more expensive than ones that I already know of. That goes against everything that I believe in, so no, it's not going to happen. So premium CD keys at the moment for me are still number one, and the keys are still the best prices that I can find on the internet that isn't from kind of some sketchy eBay seller. So yeah, premium CD keys is where I'll be going for that. Junk from Work says that is a smoking deal. Oh, good. Skystalker's in the house as well, and Ninja 47's in the house as well. Who says there's RX 480s, 4 gigs on eBay for £55 refurbished. Are they any good? Yeah, seems pretty reasonable. If you've got, yeah, that's actually really good. I would go with that. Captain Meets Adventure says, do you install OS on a disk? No, always I would go to, that's the beauty of buying keys. You can go to Windows, or Microsoft rather, download the media creation tool and put it onto a USB, so you get the very, very latest version of Windows, which will be 1909, build number sort of 18352 I think is current. You can download it onto a USB stick, install it all. When it asks you, you can stick your key in, or you can do it after, when entirely up to you really. I generally tend to wait. I put the CD key in after I've installed everything, all the drivers and everything, just to make sure that everything's stable, rather than kind of potentially wasting or losing that key on a bad setup. So actually I do recommend that to everyone. If you're going to install Windows, don't put a key in straight away. Leave it, let it run, get all your drivers installed, get all your hardware installed, so the hardware keys all match up, all that kind of stuff. And then maybe after a couple of days of Windows nagging you, if you feel confident the PC is completely stable, then go ahead, put your license key in and get it activated. But to put it in straight away on the first install, for me, is probably a bit of a no-no. So anyway, there you go. Or of course you can use Linux, Ubuntu, Hackintosh, all those kinds of things if you wanted to. Craig Pello's got a question somewhere.
Quite. Dual boot Mac.
Oh, dual boot Mac and Windows. I would really love to do a dual boot system with a Hackintosh setup, but it's always been one of those things that with dual booting, generally if one of the systems goes bad, it generally kills the other one because of that dual boot system. So I'd rather do a standalone system as a Mac or Hackintosh and then do a standalone system as Windows. Dual booting for me has always caused me problems at some time or other. Maybe it's a little bit more reliable now. Maybe I might give it a go at some point.
And one more.
Buntu Dread says, I've been lurking on this channel for about a month or so now. Well, thank you for sticking around. Just would like to remind you to put the 4+4 plug through before you fit the motherboard in the case. Okay, good one. I will do that, yeah, because, well, actually this one's not going to be too bad because there's a pretty decent cutout for this one, so should not be too bad at all. So let's get this thing started.
I think he's talking about your IO shield.
Let's get started. No.
As he said, first build I caught him as well.
Right, let's get the motherboard assembled and we'll make a start. Actually, I've got a different camera angle I can possibly do.
Make sure I'm not on it.
Number 4. There we go. So now you can see what I'm doing, hopefully. How's that view for everyone? Is everybody all good?
No, Flink's stomped it in with claws.
There we go. So there is the motherboard. Well, in case you're wondering what this bundle of cable is here, this is actually something I'll be using later on because this motherboard has only got one fan header. So I'm going to be using this. It's a single fan header there, PWM, and that takes it to 4 PWM style headers. So I can add in a couple of extra fans at a later date. So I'm going to route this through, connect it up, and then route it through the back of the PC. So when I'm building this, remind me at some point if I haven't already installed this before I put the motherboard in, to install it, okay? That's very important. Kath and the viewers, make sure you remind me that I don't forget that. Although saying that, all is not lost because if I do forget, then I've got a simple PWM splitter, which splits into 2, so we're all good. But try and remind me, because I will forget. And I did get a spare splitter as well, in case one of them breaks.
What's your thoughts on the winds lately?
Sorry?
What's your thoughts on the winds lately?
On the winds?
Yeah.
They're windy. They're very windy. Right, so there's our motherboard. Hopefully you can all see that pretty well. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the motherboard box as our kind of anti-static workstation. sure that that's okay. Actually, what's that? Something stuck on the back of there. Oh, there was a cable management thing I've put on the back of there. Never mind, it's all good. Okay, so let's get the processor out, and we're going to use a stock fan. I possibly will update the fan at a later date. So there we go, we've got the AMD processor there, or APU rather, and we've got our rather boring stock fan, but again, this is going to be real budget, so we're going cheap. So lift up the retention arm, and we'll take out the CPU, or APU rather, and on the APU, or CPU, on AMD chips, you might be able to make it out, there is a small golden triangle in that top corner, which hopefully you can just about make out. Hopefully you guys can see that. So you want to make out the gold tag. Get a bit closer, there you go. See that gold tag shining away? That top corner.
Oh yeah, we went actually on the silver bit.
There we go. So there's a gold tag in that top corner, and basically on the motherboard, most of them you'll have it printed in this bottom corner, but in this case there's just an indentation or less pins. So all we do is line up the gold tag with that corner section, and the CPU should just fall in if you haven't bent some pins. Oh, or if you held it around the right way, that would help. And there we go, that falls in. Also as well, just so an easier way of doing it really, is if you look at the writing on the CPU, it's actually the same as the writing on the socket. So at the top here where it says socket AM4, if that writing should line up with the writing on there. That's another easier way of doing it. So when you've got your CPU or APU in there, just a little bit of finger pressure, not a lot, and just push the latch around and let it lock in place. And that's it, you're good to go. And if you turn it upside down and anything falls out, you've done it wrong. Don't do that. Definitely don't do that. That's a bad idea.
It's not whip tags.
It's not what?
Whip tags.
No, it isn't whip tags. Sorry, headphone users, cough alert.
Says the cooler looks small.
That cooler is tiny. The actual output wattage of this APU, if I remember rightly, it should say on here somewhere, I think it's like 35 watts or something. It's very, very low. So there's very, very little heat generated. You could actually probably get away with a what's it called? Passive cooler, a fanless cooler, but for this particular setup, we're going to go with a fan one, just because it's probably going to be easier. So next thing to do is the thermal paste, and this is where some people will be getting triggered for sure.
You forgot to put the thermal paste in the socket. What an amateur.
Let's get that. See if we can get the camera a bit closer. Is that any better? There you go, and you can see my cup of tea, which actually I'm going to take a quick drink from.
Spill on the motherboard.
When you've got a cold, keep your fluids up. That's what it's all about. So what we're going to do is now we're going to stick on some thermal paste, if I can get this thing undone. So this is really, really silvery paste. I don't know if you can pick that up on the camera, but it's very, very silver. But this is actually supposed to be quite good paste. It's, if you're looking to buy some, HY710 is what it's called, thermal grease. So what we're going to do is, we don't need a great deal on here, so we're going to stick a little blob on there. And hopefully there's not a load of air traps in here so it goes everywhere. So gently, gently, just a small dollop, about the size of a kind of a grain of rice laid out, a smallish rice, not a basmati. That should be ample. Now of course you can, if you wanted to, you can always go ahead and smooth it out with your fingers or whatever you choose to do. In fact, actually, I possibly have under-applicated there, so I'm going to put a couple more little dots on just to trigger certain people. Let's do a couple more dots just around there.
You are quite heavy-handed.
I am quite heavy-handed, to be fair. There we go. Got loads of little silvery stalagmites on there now. So there you go. See how silver it is, it's reflecting from the studio light, something crazy. Okay, so there we go, that's that on. So all we need to do now is to put the fan on. Now with these fans, these AMD clip ones, the clip really, you can put it in either side, it doesn't really make a great deal of difference, you can go in either way. Some people prefer to do it that way up. Wants me to draw a smiley face?
Wanted you to.
Oh, sorry. I should have tried that.
And you
I
should have
didn't.
got a piping bag.
Piping bag, yeah, that would have been a good idea. So what we're going to do now is attach the cooler. Now these little retention clips, you have to actually release the tension on it. So if you release the tension, you can see this bar's drop down a little bit. So if we push that up, you can see it raises. So that's applying tension. So make sure it's in the untensioned state. And then we can put the cooler on and put the latches over. We'll do that side first. A little bit of pressure on the other side. Shouldn't need hardly any pressure, but I can't see the damn thing now. There we go. So that is attached. Make sure it's firmly in there, and then just flip the clutch over, and then you'll see that there is a little bit of tension in it, so it flips off. Let's make sure they're both on. So there we go. You see a little bit of tension, and that's it. That's locked in position. So now you can stick the header, PWM header, into the socket. Now what you can do at this point, if I've got one here, a pen, yeah, what you can do is if you get a pencil or a pen and just wrap it round, and that will make like a coil. Pull it out, and then you can stick that onto the header, and there you go. A little bit of simple cable management. So you just coil it up so it's not going to go falling around anywhere like it does on an old-fashioned telephone, or I don't know, what else has got coils on it like that these days? Hand scanners at checkout, that's about anything I can think of. Okay, so let's get the RAM installed. So this is the Corsair Vengeance LPX, not the...
Do you know if Mike has any experience with the Gamemax fan?
I think I have, yes. Sorry, I'm just having a look at the chat and answering the questions. Who's that? Craig Pello says it reminds me of Socket A days. Yeah, Socket A days. They were the days, weren't they? Well, those were the days. So there's the LPX RAM, dual channel. In this particular instance, it's actually advisable to go dual channel. You do get much better performance from the AMDs in dual channel, and also for the price of what the RAM is these days, you can actually sell it on quite cheaply if you wanted to upgrade. Even though this board's only got 2 RAM slots, so you could upgrade it if you wanted to, but you would have to get rid of the existing RAM if you go cheap first of all. But depending when your upgrade cycle is, if you're looking to upgrade in the kind of the very near future, then maybe a single 8 gig stick might be better off. But if you're a little bit further away and you want to get the most performance you can out of the build at the beginning, then definitely dual channel is the way to go. Now with DDR4 RAM slots, or RAM sticks, you can see the little catch in the middle. It's slightly offset to one side. So if you take a look at your RAM slots on the motherboard itself, there's an indentation which is slightly offset. So if you release the clips, those ones are fixed, so don't worry about those. So just release the clips, normally they'll be in that position, so just release them. And then what you want to do is line up the slot on the stick with the slot on the board. So gently just slot the first stick in, and a little bit of pressure. And you should hear it click into place on both sides. And again, repeating the process with the next stick. Stick it in the slot, stick in the slots, and 1 click, 2 clicks. And that's it, that's the memory installed. What you can also do if you want to at this point is just apply a little bit of pressure in the middle and just give it a slight little wiggle just to make sure that they're firmly seated. And that is, that's pretty much it for the motherboard. So let's get around to the case.
Questions? Rules?
And we'll answer some quick questions, and I'll put the camera back onto the original feed. Okay, so there we go. So that's the motherboard done. So we can pack away some of this stuff now that we don't need. Clear the deck. And I'll take a quick look at some of your chat. So Paul's just put, hey, My mum and dad gave me a £500 budget to build them a new PC. All they will need it for is browsing the web, anything that's not editing gaming. What do you think I should build them? £500, that's a pretty decent budget. Is that for a monitor, keyboard, mouse, the whole shooting match, or is that just for the actual tower unit? If it's just for the tower unit, then that's a really tidy budget just for a general kind of workhorse PC. And I would probably be tempted. It's difficult. If they're not using it for gaming or anything like that, or any kind of 3D tasks, it's really tempting to go for an Intel chip, even though potentially they're probably not as good, but you spend more money. But just for reliability and longevity, I would say Intel have probably got the upper hand. And also just using the onboard Intel, if it's just the PC. I don't know, £500. I'd probably squeeze the most out of it and go for like a Ryzen 5 2600, a low-end graphics card, like maybe a GTX 1650 or something along those lines, 32 gigs of RAM, and a decent quality motherboard. Yeah, that's actually quite a good question. £500 for non-gaming. That does open up a lot of possibilities. Storage is probably one option. Join our Discord and we'll go through it in more detail. I might actually do a PC part picker list for that. If you let us know which country you're in, I'll try and do a PC part picker list, depending on what country you're in. We'll see what we can work out for £500. I don't think you're going to have to spend that much, to be completely honest with you. But hey, if you want to spend it, why not? Enjoy it. Okay, so we don't need our cooling paste anymore because we're all done with that. So next thing to do is to start preparing the case. I'll have a quick look and see if there's any more questions. Ghost Rider says, how long have you been building PCs for, Mike? Since 1996. It was my first official IBM PC, but before that I was kind of building and disassembling ZX Spectrums, Commodore 64s, VIC-20s, consoles, video recorders. Video recorders were the worst one. I will never forget taking apart my mum's Betamax video recorder and basically destroying it. That was not a good day. She was not best pleased. Alright, Paul's is in the UK. Okay, so yeah, jump onto the Discord and give us some more information and I will try and put together a list for you. Or one of the other helpful experts in our Discord will. And if you haven't joined our Discord already, then you should definitely go ahead and try it. It's good fun. And you get some bargains.
Captain Me asked, you ever reviewed a Min-X PC?
Mini-X PC. Have I ever reviewed a Mini-X PC? No, I haven't actually. I've never heard of them. I've reviewed a mini PC, or tiny PCs, but I've not done a particularly, not a Mini-X by brand name. Right, so case time. So as some of you will recognise, this is the Gamemax Diamond, which we did a unboxing and review of quite recently. I think it was this week actually. Was it this week? No, last week.
Last week, Friday.
Yeah, because it's Monday today, so it'd be hard to do it last week. But this is actually a really, really good case.
Was.
Nearly had shattered glass. The tempered glass is actually quite strong, which is quite good. It's funny how the camera's actually responded to that case. It's gone really white there and it makes everything else look really yellow. It is quite bright.
What is the most expensive powerful PC you have built in your career?
The most expensive powerful PC I've built in my career? It would have probably been one which would have been around about the sort of the early 2000s, which would have probably been something like, I'm trying to think what it would have been now. Back then it would have probably been a Athlon FX CPU, which not the FXs that you're probably thinking of, the Phenom, not the Phenoms, the oh god, I can't even think what the thing of the Athlon FXs, which were bad, basically the multi-core ones. Before that, the Athlon 64. God, this side panel's on bloody tight. This is what I mean about good craftsmanship. It's actually going to need a screwdriver to remove this. Yeah, Athlon FX range, the first lot of FX, which was basically AMD's kind of early thread rippers, I suppose you would call them. And it was probably FX53, if I remember rightly. I can't remember, but it was basically a ridiculously high-end PC. And it was like the first versions of the, it would have been, yeah, NVIDIA's first first range of GTX cards, or GTS cards, I think. It was a GTS 250 or something, the very first ones. Difficult. Thunderbird. Yeah, Thunderbird. No, it wasn't Thunderbird, was it? Yeah, it probably was Thunderbird. I don't know, it's so long ago. But it was probably about, the most powerful PCs then were probably about £1,500, somewhere between £1,500 and £2,000. Mostly I was doing video editing PCs, which were expensive but not overly powerful, but it was because they had kind of capture cards and stuff like that, which were at the time were ridiculously expensive. Whereas not these days now is not so much. Right, so what did I have to remember when I got to this bit?
Don't forget that cable.
Don't forget that cable.
Don't forget your IO shield.
Don't forget my IO shield. Actually, which is still in the box, which I'm glad you said that. So let's stick the IO shield in first of all, get that done. So IO shields, when you're doing an IO shield on a motherboard, generally it's pretty straightforward. Keyboard and mouse ports at the top, audio ports at the bottom. That's been pretty much universal standard since, well, since the very beginning. In fact, actually, very early on PCs didn't actually have IO shields. Everything was built in to the case, and you actually had to have ribbon cables connected to various parts on the motherboard, which then went to various parts of the case.
And they didn't work if you cut the wrong end.
Yeah, if you cut the wrong ends off, they didn't work particularly well.
And they did power supplies.
All part of the learning curve. I did that on a floppy drive once. Floppy drives were notoriously long because they had various connectors on them for older tape drives. And I remember once I was showing off, because I'd built a few PCs, and I was showing off to a colleague who I was building a PC for at the time. It was his PC I was building, he was watching me do it. And he was saying, oh, what about all that wiring? It's like, that's right, no problem. Floppy drive cables, we only need the first couple of connections, is fine, so I'll just chop it off. So I cut through the cable with a pair of scissors, and not only did I cut through the cable, the wrong part, I also cut through a power source at the same time and shorted out the power supply and destroyed the cable. That was not fun. Well, it was fun for everybody else, it wasn't fun for me because I had to buy a new power supply. But we all make rookie mistakes when we start off. Just I glanced across then at the chat there, and I could see a letter posted about she likes the new motherboards that have got IO shields built in, which actually I do like that idea. IO shields are a pain in the backside. So as you can possibly see, you can't from there, can you? What camera am I on? I always forget this, number 4.
Hamza.
So if that ever focuses, hello, focus. There we go. So
Asked, should I wait until NVIDIA
there you can see.
announces 3000 series GPUs before I buy the 2070 Super?
Good question, actually. If you're thinking of buying a 2070 Super, I would say probably now is a good time, because you're quite far past the launch date, and if there's new ones coming out, they're not probably going to drop a great deal. NVIDIA is notorious for not dropping prices particularly a lot anyway. So I don't think you're going to do yourself any harm by buying one now, really. Again, personal preference.
4 plus 4 cable in.
Sorry?
4 plus 4 cable in.
4 plus 4 cable in, okay. And also we're going to run this thing through. So this cable is going to go through, actually I could probably do it from the bottom there. Yeah, I can actually put that through the bottom after, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. So let's get a power supply in. So this is the CIT ATV 500 watts power supply. And this is actually quite a gem. I do like this power supply. It's pretty much all blacked out. There's no ketchupy mustard stuff going on here. And the important bit, as you can see, no, there, it's hard to do when you're doing it in the camera. There's our 80 Plus Bronze certification. So in theory, if it's got that certification, it shouldn't light on fire as soon as you put power to it. Now obviously that isn't a golden rule and it still can happen, but we've got a nice clicky rocker switch there on the power supply, we've got some nice cable in. I think it's going to be absolutely fine, and I can't see it being a problem, I genuinely can't. I haven't tested it yet to see if it actually works, which I suppose really I should have powered this all up on a test bench to see if it works, but that's going to be, we're going to go through tomorrow and do the installation of the software and all that kind of stuff. and do some testing, some benchmarks and all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be coming up tomorrow. So if it all does go wrong, at least I've got a day tomorrow where I can go through and fix anything which needs fixing. Yeah, apart from other bits I have to do. Yeah. So let's...
Would you put a 4K Blu-ray or DVD disc drive?
Would I?
Yeah.
Or could I?
Would you?
No. Why the hell would I want one of those for? Captain Meets Adventure. Would you put a 4K Blu-ray or DVD? No, I wouldn't. No, I haven't used a DVD drive in donkeys, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Yeah, I would put one in a car, but I don't think I'll put one in a PC these days. I don't think it's a particularly good thing to have.
Have you ever done any custom water-cooled PCs?
No, I haven't done any custom. Well, not custom. I haven't done. I've done like AIOs and that sort of stuff. I do want to do a custom water-cooled build, but again, it's one of those things that I don't see the value in it. It's good because it looks nice. Right, I'm gonna have to do this the other way around.
Trigger later.
A custom water cooling is cool, but literally, but it's one of those things which I personally find is a little bit not pointless, because it is like an art form. But if you're on a particular budget or you haven't got a great deal of money, I would much rather spend the kind of £200, £300, £400 on the water cooling kit. I'd rather put that towards a high-end graphics card and get more performance, because it's also well and good keeping your stuff cool, but if you're spending money on cooling rather than performance, it's, I don't know, it doesn't make a great deal of sense to me personally. But that's just my personal opinion.
CIT better newer PSUs are made by Channelwell. I don't know if that's a typo or anything. Who also make EVGA and Corsair units, apparently.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. Yeah, someone's just saying there about the CIT better, the newer PSUs are made by Channelwell. I think it's Channelwell, one of the two. Which actually made the power supply which was in the, oh, what was it? The, not Best Buy, what's the place in America that sells everything? Walmart, the Walmart PC. Which the power supply, it didn't look particularly nice, but it actually did the job. It was alright. So, let's have a look at our cabling.
Okay.
So, it's actually quite nice long cabling here. And is that going to go through there nice and easily and together, or am I going to have to disconnect it? No, disconnect. So that is a little bit on the tight side, so I think with the motherboard there that might have struggled. Okay, so that is our 4 Plus connector installed. Lovely jubbly. So I think pretty much now we're ready to put the motherboard in. So now this is a micro ATX board we're putting in here, even though it is a ATX style chassis. So we're going to have to put some additional pillars in on the motherboard tray. So it's got something to actually hook it to. Now I'm pretty sure there's some extra connectors or bits and bobs in the bag, so we'll use those. Is there any in there? Yeah, there is. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves.
Great Wall.
Great Wall, that was it. As in the Great Wall of China.
Walmart's PC use Great Wall PSU, not Channelwell. The Walmart overpowered PC was pure trash.
Who said the overpowered PC was Seam at Night?
No.
Glenn?
No.
Oh, I don't know.
A letter.
Oh.
Thought you'd have got that.
Right, now with the motherboard standoffs, it's always a good idea before you start putting them in is to actually work out which threaded screw that they are planning to use in them. Because there's nothing worse than when you put a motherboard actually into the case and then you're stuck trying to find the correct screws to actually attach it. If you put the wrong screw in, it's really, or if you drop the wrong screw, where did that go? No. Oh, where the heck did that go? Can't see it. Doesn't exist. Oh, there it is. Yeah, like I was saying, so when you put the wrong screw in, it's a real pain to actually try and retrieve it after, because you have to kind of flex the motherboard out to get it to want to come out. That doesn't feel like the right thread actually in these. Yeah, it is. So this is using the finer threaded screws, and you can just double check that by trying a different thread on another one of the screws, and it shouldn't catch or shouldn't want to do up.
Albert asks,
No, that's not having it.
any thoughts on a Ryzen 7 3800X with a Gigabyte 2070 Super 650 power supply Corsair? Gaming
To answer
520 plus.
Albert's question, yeah, sounds like pretty decent stuff there. I don't think I'll get the rest of the question. What was the question?
Tough Gaming X. Any thoughts on a?
Any thoughts? Yeah, my thoughts are it's pretty darn good. Wouldn't mind it myself.
Andrew Minelli, what's your opinion on the LAN Cool 2?
Like it. LAN Cool 2 is a great case. Now, with the motherboard, you've got your mounting areas, so there's generally 6 or 9 or 8, depending on the board. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, some longer boards may have those a little bit further down, and if they're wider boards, they'll have an additional 3 or 2 on this side. So be careful where your motherboard needs support. In this bottom corner now, this one is actually on the same line as this one, which is actually quite unusual for micro ATX. Generally, they tend to be staggered slightly up or slightly down, so they're not always straight across. I've noticed actually recently more and more boards are actually going to that standard, so they are actually completely straight across. So just make sure that on the back plate, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and at the moment we've got 5 and 6, which are at the bottom. So what we're going to do now is put in a couple of additional headers, or sorry, standoffs. It's always a good idea as well, if you're buying a case or you're doing a build for someone and it's slightly non-standard setup, or you've got room for it, just take your additional standoffs and install them anyway. Just put them somewhere slightly out of reach, like on this side panel here. There's always extra holes, so you can put them in so that when the end user decides at one point, oh, I'm going to upgrade my system, and then they go to do an upgrade, and they're like, oh, where are the standoffs? Now, sometimes you can just put them in like a little zip baggie and leave it in the motherboard box. I just like to put them in, actually in the case, so they're ready to be used. So we've got 6 standoffs there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got our extra ATX ones on the bottom, which we'll leave in there. And actually what I'll do is, while I'm at it, just to be ultra efficient, I will actually put the screws in the 2 bottom ones anyway, just so that if and when I decide to put a ATX board in here, the screws and everything are all ready. Okay.
What fans are you using for the intake?
What fans am I using for the intake? Well, that is a very good question. I was planning to use the Gamemax one that they sent with this case, but I'll be quite honest, I can't actually see it. It's the Gamemax Razor. Actually, Kath, is it in that Gamemax box? Did I throw it in there by mistake? We'll see if we can find it. I wasn't actually planning on using an intake fan, I was just going to go with exhaust and have it as negative pressure. Oh no, there it is, it's on the wall behind me. So,
how many fans are you going to use? So one.
Reflections, we're going to use 2 fans. So we're going to use the Gamemax Razor in the front, and then we're going to use the Gamemax, I'm not sure what the one in the back is called actually. Yeah, I'm not sure. But the one that's in the back is going to just be the standard case fan they supply. This is an extra one, which is an optional one which you can attach. Now this one's actually got a RGB pass-through as well, so you can daisy chain these, but I'm only going to put one at the front. So I suppose actually it's probably a good idea we go ahead and do that now. So let's move this to one side slightly. And this is the hard part, actually, removing the front panel. The front panel on this thing is really, really solid.
Sky's got to be back to Earth.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. See you later, Sky. Have a good one. Okay, so in this front panel, so we've got 3 sections here that we can mount the fans to, as I showed in the previous video. So this bottom one is probably useless because that's just going to cool down our power supply in the basement area. So not a lot of benefit of having a fan there. The one at the top is probably going to be slightly better, but because the way that hot air rises and cooled air as it goes in the case is going to get warmer, the ideal airflow path is going to be this central channel. So our graphics card is going to be kind of round about here. So if we have a fan going straight in here, we're going to cool the graphics card. We're going to get cool air going into the bottom of the graphics card under here. And then we're going to get cool air going over the top plate of the graphics card here. And any additional airflow is going to be taken up onto our motherboard, VRMs, and any additional heat which is generated in this section will be exhausted from this fan at the back, or also from natural convection from the top of the case through this ventilated area. So airflow wise, I think a single fan in and a single fan out should be fine.
Can't see that.
Yeah, I just realised that as I did it.
Ghost Adder said the one that comes with the case you can't buy anywhere else, which is annoying.
Is that right? I wasn't aware of that. I thought you could get them on the... I thought I saw them on Amazon. Can't remember what it's called though, so it could be completely right.
I think they did ask in Discord, I saw that.
Okay, so this has got an absolute ton of extra wiring attached, which is probably not really necessary, so I could possibly actually just chop off some of those wires, which we all know how that works out. That's a Molex connector there, so we definitely not in a month of Sundays are we ever going to need a Molex connector. So can we have an F in the chat for the Molex connector, please? And let's get rid of this bad boy. So we're just going to snip it right off here, and there we go. You see it?
Bang!
And there we go. We don't have a Molex anymore. Happy days.
I like my deck that things, or turns things on.
Yeah. You don't have to do a bang at all.
FFP.
FFP, we've got a P in the chat for it as well.
That's British noob. F. Well, it deserves it. F.
Okay, so let's get this wiring sorted out. It's quite an unusual fan actually, this one. If you can see, it's got like a kind of a dual axial setup. So you've got more blades around the outside edge than you have on the inside edge, which allegedly is better for airflow. Now, I am not a aerodynamics expert in any way, shape or form, so I cannot confirm or deny those rumours, but seems to make sense. Now the only thing is now, where I'm putting this in the case, in this central section, there isn't actually much room for cable management or sort of hidey holes, so I think I might take it down through there and then down through the bottom of the basement. Yeah, I think that's going to be the best option. So let's turn this around a bit so you guys can see what I'm doing. Although I can't. Sorry, my bad. So this is going to go about here. Let's get his holes marked up or lined up. Yeah, I think that's pretty good there. These fans actually have got rubber grommets on them as well, so not only are they going to be in a quite a nice place, they're also going to be relatively anti-vibration as well, which is pretty cool. And actually the screws, normally when you screw into new fans, the screws generally don't tend to go in very well, and you almost have to kind of cut the thread when you're doing it for the first time. But these are actually going in really nicely, which is a testament to the guys over at Gamemax. Actually, they do seem to be up in their game. They've had some pretty decent cases over the years. And that is slightly off, so I'm going to bring that down a tiny little bit because the actual adjustment of that ring is slightly triggering me.
Is that the fans British noob as well?
Yeah.
Because he can confirm they're pretty good. Didn't know if
Yeah, British Noob's got these fans in his PC. He's got the Gamemax. I can't remember what case he's got now. It wasn't the Venus, was it? It was the... Can't remember. Noob will put it in the chat. So there we go, there's our fan installed. That looks pretty nice in there. Gamemax View, that's the one. Now unfortunately, because of the way this is set up, the RGB isn't going to show through on the front, but at least we've got that kind of ring around the outside edge there, and it's going to shine through to the back as well. So there we go, there is our fan installed. We're only going to use the one, like I said. And that is just so solid, that case. A bit too solid actually, it hurts my back. So there you go, you've got a better view of it there. So you've got this RGB here, and that is going to be synchronized with the rest of the RGB because it's all part of the Gamemax branding. And the camera isn't actually liking that very much, is it? Yes, hello. Is that any better? Marginally. Anyway, okay, moving on. Right, so we can put the motherboard in now. So all we need to do is to line up the motherboard. I know, but I haven't got a motherboard or I haven't got a case. Not a case, a monitor. That's the one I wanted. I don't have a monitor I can plug it into to actually confirm that it's going to work. Yeah, I would. Normally, I would do that. I would put it on a little test bench first of all. If you're doing sort of slightly more serious cooling as well, it's a really good idea to do that as a letter says. But because this is pretty much bog standard stuff, it's not particularly difficult to take the motherboard out. All it is kind of 6 screws and a few connectors. So it's relatively straightforward to get in there and do any changes should there need to be any.
How long do you think this build will take?
How long do I think it will take?
That's not me asking that.
I don't know actually. I'm not doing it as a speed build or anything like that because my back is shot to pieces, so I'm struggling as it is, and I'm just gonna take my time and enjoy it. Now that feels like that's the wrong thread on there, but it's not. There we go. Sometimes when you're threading a screw, if it doesn't thread the first time, what you'll need to do is to do it, rather than doing it clockwise as you would normally, just do it a few turns counterclockwise and you'll find that the thread actually finds its kind of, its thread, I suppose. Just self-threading. Sometimes you can put them in and they just go straight away.
Are you selling this build or is it just to show building in the case?
Am I selling this build or am I... that's a good question actually. Well, if somebody wants it and they're prepared to pay for the shipping and that, then I would probably sell it. But I think for most people, they actually prefer going through the build process themselves. But hey, if anybody's interested and they want to buy it after I'm done with it, yeah, hit me up on a Discord and we'll sort something out. I was planning to use it actually in the living room, but it is a bit of a waste there. So yeah, if someone's got a need for it or a use for it, then yeah, cool. Now this is connecting up the 4-pin CPU header, which actually I think if I remember rightly is the opposite way on these boards. Where's the little latch? Yeah, it's on the outside there. So rather than having the hook on the top like most normal boards, this has got it around the other way. There we go. So that's connected. So the power supply's actually got a 4+4 pin connector, but the motherboard, because it's got very low power requirements, is only got a 4-pin connector. So I just tucked in the other connector at the top there. So it's ready and waiting. Again, upgradability is key with this. So that is another reason why I've put a micro ATX board in this ATX case, because if you wanted to upgrade it at a later date, you can do very, very easily. Take the motherboard out, put a new board in, any size board. You can actually fit in here a full-size eATX board if you wanted to. There's no reason why you shouldn't do that. It doesn't actually say specifically on their website or anything that can be done, but definitely it can be done. It will fit. So yeah, if you're considering it anyway, then yeah, very flexible. Right, so let's get some of these front panel connectors connected up and get those out of the way. So there is our RGB. So we'll put that towards the top for now because we're not going to be needing that quite yet. And what have we got here? So this is our HD audio. So we'll run that one down through the bottom here. And that's nice actually. There's plenty of room there to run that cable through, which you don't find on some cases. You find it to be a real tight squeeze between the power supply and the cutout. Can't quite see where the pin out is there. Is it that way or that way? No, old man eyes. There it is. Now Have I bent one of these already? There we go. A little bit of persuasion. Now that is one of the downsides of this build, because it is a micro ATX and an ATX case. Some of these front panel connectors are going to be a little bit on the kind of horrible looking side, but again, it's not really the end of the world, is it? And actually, I don't think the USB Type 3 or USB 3.0 is going to reach like that. No, because it's designed to be connected up kind of down here on this side. So that is a little bit unfortunate. So we're going to have to take this in through here and connect it up to there. A little wiggle, and that'll be in place. We can fold that around a little bit, tuck it under there, and it's not too bad. Could have been a lot worse. Maybe you could put a cable tie or something in there, but it doesn't look too bad. Essentially, we're going to have a graphics card here anyway, so it's not going to stand out too much.
Is that all going to fit behind there if that case side is so tight?
Yeah, the case side is real tight, but there's lots of room. There's plenty of room there, yeah. So next up is our front panel connectors, which again is probably going to be the same deal. It's not going to be quite long enough to stretch around. Oh, actually, yeah, it is. So we'll take that under there, if that'll go. And we should be good to go. Now, when it comes to the power switch, your reset switch, and your hard drive LED, pretty much all motherboards, even ASUS ones, they do conform to a relatively standard, if that is a thing. Some ASUS boards actually come with a different connector, which you connect up first, then plug the whole thing in. But normally on these power connectors, or the front panel connectors, it's the same thing. So top left, you have your power plus, power minus, then your reset. Underneath that, you have hard drive LED plus minus and hard drive LED. No, reset. Sorry. Yeah. So power and power on the top, hard drive and reset on the bottom. So power, sometimes it's easier just to do the power switch. Now this one actually hasn't got a power LED, so that's quite handy. And on the actual connectors, normally you've got a plus and minus marked out. Plus is generally to the left, minus to the right. So hard drive LED on the bottom is that one there. Next to that is a reset switch. Now reset switch and power switch are basically a toggle switch, so they just pass current through, so you can put them in either way. It doesn't make any difference. But for the actual LEDs, it does, because the positive cathode or diode and the negative, etc., have to be around the right way. And with the power switch, make sure you actually do put it on the right pins, otherwise when you try to turn it on, it won't turn on. Which may still actually happen with this build, we never know. So what else have we got? So we've also got our USB 2.0 header. So we'll stick that underneath here and route that up through. And there's quite a few USB headers to choose from here, so let's go straight into that one there. Again, this wiring isn't the prettiest at the bottom. I will wholeheartedly admit that. It's not great, but actually quite forgiving, because obviously these cables are all blacked out, so when it's all the case on, the side on, it should be absolutely fine.
Stephen Simmons says you should consider doing this for a living.
I should consider doing it for a living? Oh no, it's way too stressful. Right, next one is the SATA cable. Now, so a lot of people actually do this at the wrong time and end up going wrong. Because of where the graphics card is going in this build, and because it's micro ATX, our graphics card is going to be coming along these slots. So these ports are going to be pretty difficult to get to, especially with the card if it's 2 or 2.5 inch deep, 2 slot deep. Those are going to be a little bit difficult to get to. So just a suggestion would be to connect those up before you start, or before you put the graphics card in rather, and then just route it out of the way behind.
I missed a message just now, but Buntu said he'd drop it in the next hole down to hide under GPU. But I don't know what that was.
Drop in the next
That's what you were doing at that point.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what that was. Okay, never mind. We'll have a look at that later. So next one is the main power for the board. This is pretty straightforward. It's a 24 pin connector, or 20 plus 4. Some of these connectors now are molded, so they're all in one, but some of them have got a detachable side panel. This one has got a side panel, which reduces the other 4. Older motherboards used to have just 20 pins but as power requirements have got more so, they've had to add the extra 4 pins to make the new ATX 2.1 standard, I think it is. So we're going to stick that one in and spin that around there. And that's in there nicely. Lovely jubbly. So the next thing to do is to route round some power for our graphics card, because we're definitely going to be needing some power for the graphics card because it's quite a hungry beastie. So what we'll probably do is take it through this cutout in the bottom. Could take it through there, I suppose.
It was the USB 3 header.
Oh, the USB 3 was it? Okay. Excuse me. Let's put that through there. So we're ready now to plug that into our graphics card, which would be lovely jubbly. We could have put it through there, I guess, but that's probably a little bit easier anyway. So let's, what can we put in now? So I suppose the hard drive is going to be, I think I'll put the hard drive at the back in one of the removable caddies. I think that's probably the best place. We could put it into one of these sections here, but I'll probably leave that as clear as possible. So we'll put the drive on the back. Again, if you're using a NVMe or M.2 style drive, it would go onto the front of the board. I don't think this board actually, oh yeah, it does, yeah, the board actually does support NVMe or M.2 drive, so you could do it that way if you wanted to. So,
It needs a $700 custom loop.
it does need a $700 custom loop. That would be the best way forward. So let's put the graphics card in now, and then we can concentrate on everything that's going on the back. Actually, let's take this thing out of the way altogether. And see, so yeah, the USB 3 header, I might have to relook at that and see what's going on. We'll see how it goes. Now, these breakouts on the back for the PCI Express, before you pull them out, always check with your motherboard, make sure that the PCI Express 16X slot is actually in line with the ones you're going to be pulling out, because you don't want to pull out one unnecessarily. So we need 2, so we'll take out that one, and these normally just wiggle out.
So they break off the one.
Yeah, these are one-shot deals. But because the motherboard's actually, or the case itself is actually made from pretty good steel, or whatever it is, it's probably SCCC, but it's actually, there's not really a lot of flex in it. And also be careful when you're flexing these that you don't damage any components that might be on the motherboard. Luckily, this one, there is nothing there at all to catch on, so we're all good. So let's grab the graphics card.
How much was this build worth?
How much is this build worth? I think it's about $250.
Yeah, that's what Tony said. He thought it was a £200 build, but then he saw the graphics card.
So with the graphics card, there's a retention slot on the motherboard, so you just make sure that's pushed into the open position, and then you can put the card in, and you should find that it sits in snugly with the actual section there, and also that the fingers on the back, where it matches up with your PCI Express ports there, it should be pretty much flush. So you shouldn't be seeing too much of a gap there. If you've got a big gap and it takes a lot of force to screw it actually into it, it means that the card isn't probably seated correctly. So you might want to have another go, just make sure that it's all lined up nicely. Now, I've got a sneaking suspicion that doesn't actually want to screw up very well there, so potentially, weirdly, I've never come across it before, but this actually might want to use the smaller, finer screws, which actually would be very, very unusual. Or they're just badly cut, which I think they're just badly cut. Let's try another one of the super small ones. Normally on the PCI Express side of things, the expansion ports, generally I would say pretty much every single time I've done a build, they've been the coarser threaded screws. But for some reason...
Tony says for your information it's not NVMe slot. And then you need to look at what he's written because it's too complicated for my brain.
1 M.2 M key, storage by source SATA, and PCIe 3. It's not an NVMe slot. I think it is NVMe. I could be wrong. I'll have to look at the setup on that. I'm sure it's NVMe supported.
He's done that in thingies, so he's
Anyway.
taken it from somewhere.
There is the graphics card installed, and that's in there pretty nicely. Weirdly, I can't believe it's used those screws. I've not had that before, I don't think, ever. That is very, very unusual. And I don't actually like this retention thing on the back. It's a bit pointless. But, hey ho. Doesn't feel very very tight on there. I used the wrong screw. Oh no, I saw what I'd done. I made a rookie error. Or have I? How did that come out of there? Has anybody been watching this video? No, that is right. The screw was in front. It's just not a particularly nice retention. Hey ho. Yeah, that's a little bit loose on there. I wonder if it's the screw. Or have I just put it in wrong? I can't be in wrong. Sorry, I'm talking to myself now. I know that is one of the first signs of madness.
How hairy are your palms?
The hairiest palms. I'm sure that was the right screw. This is one of the reasons why I dislike these kind of retention things. Oh, that still doesn't feel particularly great. Oh well, it's in. It's not going anywhere. So, yeah, as it falls out. So now what we can do is put the graphics card power in. Now we can actually use, there is actually a bracket, GPU bracket there which they've included, which I gotta be honest with you, I didn't actually look in the manual to see how it actually works. So are we going to use that or not? I don't know. I guess that goes in there somehow. I don't know. But this graphics card is pretty good and it's pretty stable anyway, so we won't put it in there. If you had like one of the MSI, the which brand is it? The Armor MSI cards, they're a little bit loose, so they might need a little bit of extra help.
Ghost Adder asked, can you show us how to use the GPU bracket?
Because Ghost Adder's got this case. Okay, let's have a look in the instruction book and see what it says. I can see there's a couple of mounting sections there for it, so it must go in relatively easily. Now this graphics card only needs two 6-pin connectors, not an 8-pin or an 8-pin and a 6-pin, so that's pretty decent, pretty easy to manage with. So what was this? I thought that was cable ties that was included in there, but it's not, it's twist sticks. I'm not using twist sticks, not a chance in hell. Cable tying this early into the build is probably not a great idea, to be fair. But we live for that kind of thing. Or might even need be a 2 cable tie job, because these cables are a little bit split. There's quite a long split all the way along them, so you can actually divide them up, or just use one or the other. So we might have to put a few in there. That's a little bit odd. Well, not odd, but a bit of a pain. I suppose it's good if you're only using one connector, it can minimise what you have to actually put in there. But this is going to look awful now with a ton of cable ties everywhere.
Puntu thinks the bracket will probably be too short, expecting you to use ATX board in that case.
Possibly. Right, let's have a look. Where's the instructions gone for it? I had them here somewhere. Where did I put them? Help me out. Where have I put them? Ah, there we are. Right, here is the instructions. So GPU bracket. Okay, so GPU bracket hangs out that way. Now, actually, I don't think I can put that in. Yeah, the GPU bracket. Okay, so let's let's go through this. So the GPU bracket gets attached to the case, this bit here, so it goes in that way. So you screw from the back of the case, so that actually it's difficult to show you. I can't even see where the hole is there. Actually, there's 2 holes there. There's 2 holes on the bracket, but only one actually on the bracket. That's a.
You just said 2 holes on the bracket.
Hang on.
1 on the bracket.
Yeah, it's showing that there's a slider. Ah, yeah, there we go. So yeah, there is a slider on the back side. So actually, let's go ahead and do that. There should be 2 thumb screw types. So 2 thumb screws, and they go into this section, like so. So you just tighten those up, and then that gives you your kind of your guide height. And then on top of that, doesn't show how you attach the other bit though. So this section goes on top of here, but there doesn't seem to be any obvious way of fixing that. Actually, it's showing that side up. So that could actually be just a regular cross-headed type screw, like thick coarse one. All part of the learning process. Thank you, Gamemax, for making this so simple and delightful. Right, so it's not one of those screws because that doesn't fit in between, so that means it's possibly one of those. Why can't they make life easy? Pre-assembled. Mind you saying that, the in-win case, they've all got these as well, and I never worked out how to use those either. Right, that doesn't seem to want to go that way, so it must be, they've shown it upside down, I think, on the actual instructions. Yeah, that makes more sense. Right, there we go. So that's the bracket. So you screw into the back that way, and then you've got this section which you can then move and slide around or move to wherever it is to support the bracket. So for the for Ghost Adder who wants to see how this works, let's stick it in for you. I suppose one other thing I would say with this is because of where it's kind of designed to go, it's not going to look particularly great in its intended position. So if I raise that up slightly and tighten up those screws. So can you guys can you see that where it is? It's difficult to focus on. You see, so basically it's just in there. So there's like a swivel there, that's supporting the graphics card. You could push that out further, so if you've got a longer card, kind of does the job. Does what it's intended to do, keeps it stable, so yeah, it works. Actually, if I spin the whole thing round, so there you can see on the back, so you've got this area here. So that's where you can raise and lower it. It would have been better if that was slightly over this side more, so, but again, so it's depending on what sort of graphics card you've got, that does the job. So you just undo those screws and you can raise and lower that accordingly. So there you go, hopefully that is cleared that up for you. So let's do some cable management, shall we?
Craig asked about his air purifier.
Oh, right, the air purifier, yeah, that's doing well. We haven't actually been in the room much because I've been sick for a little bit. I've spent most of my time actually on the sofa, just slowly kind of feeling sorry for myself and dying. So we haven't really used it a great deal recently. And I actually haven't got it on now, which I probably should have.
You got? Is it plugged in?
Yeah.
Should I put it on?
If you want to. Right, so let's cable manage this thing. So we've got a 3-pin power connector for our fan.
That's not on you.
And there's an RGB connector somewhere. Where did that go? Oh, out there. So the RGB connector goes into this connector, and the fan that we've just installed on the front is, we've got 3-pin power for that, and we've got this pass-through connector for the RGB. which actually is quite a long cable as well, which is handy. So we can kind of route this up over here to keep things out of the way. So all you do, because this is a pass-through and it's a 3-pin addressable RGB, all you need to do is to disconnect that section and connect it to there. And then this side has got a little connector on, or cover on, and connecting to there. So that is now passing through the RGB through to both fans. So we could really probably just hook this up here, cable tie it all the way, and be done with it. Be done with it. So,
Jason Adder said thanks for showing.
not a problem. Now what I'll probably do is now, because these RGB connections are very easy to pull apart, what I'm going to do is get some PVC tape on there just to hold it in place. So, sorry Kath, can you pass me that PVC tape please, which is just on the inside of my desk?
That one?
No, black one, please. Go. So a bit of PVC tape, always very handy for this sort of thing, because the last thing you want is when you're doing your RGB for it all to go pear-shaped and something become disconnected, and especially with these, because obviously they're running 5 volts through them, which isn't a lot, but it's enough to do damage. So for safety's sake, it's a lot easier just to put a little bit of tape on it just to keep it secure, or wait until the next implementation of dodgy RGB to hit and find out what happens with that.
And let us put a little bit of bio on there if you want to look.
Bit of what?
A little bio for herself.
Right, Tony's off to bed. Aletta's bio bored him to death, so he's going to sleep. He's had enough. Aletta should have her own tech channel, really. She has the background. Okay, so that is the addressable RGB all taped up, so we're not going to have any sort of crazy accidents with that. So yeah, we can probably cable tie that up actually, keep it out of the way. So, now where did I put my bag of cable ties? They are over there, as he reaches over and tries not to fall off. Now times like this, it's actually really nice if you've got those little... Aletta is a secret man.
That's what Tony says.
Oh, that's going to go down well. That's going to end in tears, I can see it happening. Okay, so we're going to get some cable ties up here. I'm just going to put that into place. And actually I'm going to run the power for the fan. I'm going to run that across the top here as well, because we're going to put our fan unit up here somewhere, possibly. Actually, no. Let's see how far the fan unit actually goes, or how far it'll distribute, because that is going to dictate where we can put the rest of the stuff. So, we've got our fan splitter.
We've got our little Mr. Driver.
Go, Mr. Driver.
You get some ice.
Oh, that's what I forgot to do. I forgot to run this through before I actually installed the graphics card. Schoolboy error.
Is it okay if George checks some ice?
Yeah. If anyone's wondering what that crazy noise is, that is the son of Mike's unboxing using the ice dispenser on the fridge. Okay, so that is our fan header put through. And that sign, or that sound rather, was the sound of my spine crumbling. Again. Oh, and typically it doesn't fit that way round. We're going to take that back out. And we're going to have to route that through first of all, up through here. So this is what PC building is all about. It's all about learning and making mistakes as you go. And doing it publicly, yeah. Not editing it out. Which is good fun. And hopefully along the way you might learn a few things. You never know. So, how are we doing here? So we've got Not Spartan has just joined us.
Can't have another cup of tea because I'm descaling the kettle.
Why is that twisted now? Okay. This is not the easiest of things to do. I should have done this before I put the graphics card in. So basically what I'm doing is I'm trying to attach this fan header to the motherboard in a slightly logical place, because it's only got one fan header, which is probably the only downside about this board actually, is it's only got a single fan header. So we need to connect up both of our fans to this header and also hide it somewhere so that it doesn't short circuit. All good fun. So let's see what we can do with some of these cables and see what we're working with. So that was for, what was that up there? Oh, that's the main power. So that needs to come up through there. Got our GPU connection there. So that's okay. This should actually be really simple to cable manage because there's not a lot going on in here, but I'm trying to do it so I don't have to take it all apart and redo it all, which is sometimes the case. Right, so we don't need RGB up here. Let's stay up there. I don't think our fan header is going to reach all the way up to those heady heights, so we're going to be looking at taking our fan connectors down to the bottom, so probably into the kind of basement area here, or actually no, basement area here it looks like. Don't think. So a CPU, oh that would be cool. I hope it goes better than mine. At least you'd have learned some things from this, hopefully, of what not to do.
He's installed the front fans and the front panels are bugger to get off though.
Yeah, the front panel on this is very, very, very tough to get off, which is probably a good thing.
Not from the back.
And not from my back, no. Now, is that going to fit in there? That would be nice. It's unlikely because most things have conspired against me today. Oh yes. Oh, look at that. That is perfect. So the little fan header fits in that little channel quite nicely. Although that cable's gone underneath there now, so... Oh, that is a nose. Okay, that's looking good. So yeah, we can secure most of that down there. So that's going to be perfect for our drive to go in. Now, what cable was that there? That could have done with being routed out slightly better. So this is one of the problems with not having modular cables is sometimes they get a little bit twisted, which can be a pain.
His friend had the same case and found himself lodged in it.
I haven't cut myself yet, but the night is still young.
Not in this case.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to take that back out. And what did I want to run through there? Which one was it? So that's good, that's good, that's good. We're all good. Yeah, I might do actually. Right, I think let's get the RGB out of the way, because that is slightly causing, well, not causing problems, but it's getting in the way a little bit. At least we know that where we're routing to now. So we put a cable tie in this section. Now, like I said, this probably is a bad idea to actually cable tie it up as much as this before we turn it all on. But I pretty much know for a fact if I turn it on and it just works, I probably will never get around to cable managing it, because it'll be like, nope, it's working, I want to use it, I'm playing games. So spend time cable managing now so that it actually does get done. So take that one along there.
Sambo says those power supply cables aren't joined together, they are loose, and they would hate that.
They are joined together. Oh yes, I mean, yeah, they are loose. They're not all banded together, which is, I suppose that is part and parcel of a cheaper power supply. Those are kind of some of the drawbacks, I suppose. So that's going to go along there. So we can probably bunch that up there.
Pepper's in the house.
Good evening, Tony Pepper. How you doing? Thank you for sharing all of our videos and links and all that kind of good stuff. I know you're only doing it because you want to win stuff, but we appreciate it. Now, speaking of winning stuff, we haven't decided what we're going to do as a giveaway this week. And I've got to be honest with you, I still haven't. Who knows? We'll find something. Okay, so we've got this slightly more neater now. Is that a word? More neater? That's bad English, isn't it? So again, those could have been done slightly better there. I'm a little bit disappointed with those connections there for the kind of like the onboard USB and all that kind of stuff. But I guess it's not the end of the world. Yeah. So let's put the hard drive in next. I suppose I could have put the hard drive underneath, but I'll put it here now. Now I've taken that bit out. So these caddies are pretty simple and straightforward. Now these for sure definitely all use the more finer thread screws rather than the more coarse thread. And
Betty's got a great tip for cable management.
What's that?
Read it.
I like Aletta's cable management tip. That is certainly one way of doing it. Now with these caddies, you have got 4 screw holes to secure the drive, but realistically there's no weight to these at all, so using 2 is absolutely fine. That's secured quite nicely. It's actually quite nice to see as well on a case of this kind of price point is actually having a thumb screw to attach it. Because they didn't have to. They could have just used a normal screw. So there we go, that is that. We need some power to the SATA drive. And we also need some power to the SATA for the RGB as well. So we've got this RGB connection, sorry, the SATA connection for the RGB controller. So we'll stick that into the single pin. And we can tuck that in the front. I'm just going to pop that underneath there. That's going to be absolutely fine. We've got tons of room down here, so literally we could just stuff all the cables in there and be done with it, really. We've got another set of cables there, which we don't need, so I will tuck those underneath there as well. Just for now. And that leaves us one SATA connector and one Molex connector, which we can stick into our hard drive. Oh, that is really, really annoying me now. Right. The 4-pin connector is coming out, even though it was not the easiest to get in there. So let's take that back out. I'll take that whole cable out. And hopefully it proves to be quite easy to put back in. I think it will. So we're going to reroute this cable, just because it was tucked under there, which wasn't great. And we'll go under there, and then back up through. And this gives us a chance to see how easy the pass-through is, actually. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's a piece of cake, he says. Yeah, that was our cat. He's not getting much attention because we're busy, so he cries. Okay, so that's a little bit better now, so we can route this down here, tidy things up a little bit. Nice thing is actually on this case, again, it is such a cheap case, it really is, but you've also got quite a lot of these nice little tie-off points to keep things nice and tidy, which I appreciate, I really do.
And so does the cable type currently.
Yeah, I am going to have to go on to, well, go to the local shops, actually, the local store, and go and get some more cable ties because I am running out. So we can pull that down there. Or is that going to go around there? Yes. Look at this. This is just a work of art, almost. Not bad. Not bad at all. What do you reckon? It's coming on right now? Not bad at all. It's starting to neat up. Those are a real pain. Again, if it was an ATX board in there, those would be no problem at all. It is what it is. So let's get our SATA connector in. Flex that back into there a little. I can never remember which way round these go. Tell me I haven't put it in the wrong way.
Mind your laptop.
There we go. I thought for a minute there I'd put it in the wrong way. There we go. So there's our SATA drive connected. So all we need to do now is to plug back in our power supply connector. Do we want to put it on that side or that side? Let's put it around that side because we've got plenty of flex there. So that isn't going to pull on the rest of the cables. Yeah, I think one of the downsides I'm finding about this power supply is the whole kind of this bunching of the main power block, which I actually thought was going to make life easier. But actually, in reality, it makes it a little bit more tricky because it's just a bunch of unruly cables that want to go everywhere. So I'm going to need some cable ties on that for sure. I wonder if that's going to work now. Restore. Is it back?
What power supply have you got in that 101?
Oh, there we go. I think we're back. Yeah, we're back.
Yeah, it's back.
Yay! Streaming PC.
What power supply's in that?
It was the Gigabyte one, but I changed it last night for the Rio Toro one, which is an unknown good power supply. So.
Seem like nice, they wouldn't have happened with the EVGA.
Yeah, probably wouldn't have done, yeah. Oh dear.
And they're not cable ties, they're tweezers.
Oh yeah, they are tweezers, not cable ties. My apologies. So there we go. That's the cable management. That's how it's going to. That's what we're going to be rocking for now. So I think we can put the side panel back on. Don't think there's any real risk involved in doing that. That case is very, very tight. Tight like a tiger. Where have I done? Ah, there we are. Which camera are we on? Well, we're back on that camera, aren't we? It's defaulted to the Lumix. So I don't know what's going on with my streaming PC. So far, I've changed the power supply, the RAM, the graphics card,
Drivers.
power supply, and drivers. And how long has this stream been going? Like over an hour and a half, and then it decides to, boom, like that, gone. Don't get it, I really don't. But, hey-ho.
Now for the sit blowing.
Yeah, now for the CIT going boom. So there we go. There is the pretty much finished build. I'm not going to put the glass side panel on because, well, it's just reflecto porn, isn't it, really? And nobody got time for that. I'm actually risking it by putting the screwdrivers away to see how bad this goes. So what I'm going to have to do now is, because I've run out of power sockets, I'm actually going to have to shut down the laptop, I think.
Or, what about the lamp, thing?
Oh yeah, I could do that, couldn't I? Yeah, let's have some power. Let's see if this thing will actually post. I hope so, because it might end up actually having to be the streaming PC. So, Kath, can you do the honours?
No, I can't really, because am I going to be on camera?
No.
Which one is it?
I'd unplug the super chat
I
thing.
was going to unplug this.
Oh yeah, unplug that then, yeah. Good idea. Kath's full of good ideas.
Unless you don't agree with them and then they're rubbish.
Yeah, if I don't agree with them, then they're rubbish ideas. Oh man, I'm getting a dead leg. Yeah. Right, let's pack some of this away. So, Gamemax. Installation manual, which was bloody useless, let's be fair.
Plug it in.
Yeah, you can do.
Do it when I go in there.
They're not going to see you. They won't see you at all. You're not there.
Yeah.
Kath's not plugging the PC in, you can't see her at all. That was that telltale sparky sound as well. There she is.
Worms.
There he is.
I need a watch strap.
Right, that's all of our bits in there. So we can pack this away. And see. Now, do you guys want to see it actually post? Or do you just want to see it light up? Let us know in the chat while I'm packing this stuff away. I gotta be honest with you, I'll be happy to see either. Both, they want to see it post and light up and everything work. You just want it all, don't you? Okay. This,
Only wants it to post.
actually, because the drive I've just put in it might actually have an operating system on, so it might actually boot into Windows. You never know. Kath, can you pass the bin over, or can you put this in the bin? Please, thank you. Cheers.
No, I ain't got big hands like you.
Right, that is the deck fully cleared. So let's see, can you see what's on? You can see that, can't you? Right, this is the difficult bit now, actually trying to get the HDMI feed. Oh, has that computer died again?
No, I don't think so, because it's still going there. Do I unplug the monitor? No, I couldn't have done because it's got
No.
light on.
Well, that's still working. Have I just unplugged it a bit? Is the stream still going?
The stream's still going because there you are.
Yeah, but there's a delay on that.
Not that much because look, there you are. Banging the keys.
Okay. So weirdly, my screen over here is showing that the screen is on. So I've got blue light on the screen, but there's no display. There's something seriously wrong with this computer. Anyway, let's unplug that.
Set your XMP first.
Set your XMP first. You can't set your XMP first. You've got to boot up first.
That's what Ubuntu said.
Right, let's move that out of the way slightly. Let's balance that precariously. What could go wrong? I've got nothing plugged in. Where's my... Oh, that's right over there. This was not thought through very well.
As usual.
Yeah. It was quite impromptu. Is that DisplayPort or is that VG? Oh, that's it. There we go. Right, here we go. We still streaming? Is it still active? Ah, that's died. That's interesting then. I wonder if it's that bloody USB cable all along. Let's unplug it. Weird. Right, okay. We powered up. Yeah, we're
Mouse, perhaps?
I haven't got those to hand because I can't. Did that come on? Yay! And I'm going to get a display on the screen. Or is that monitor bit the dust now?
Jesus says, how about building a PC with the most cheap PC parts from China? That would be interesting.
That sounds really quiet, considering I can't see if the other fan's on.
Which one?
Is the one on this?
Yeah, one facing you's on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the one at the back's on. What other ones is there?
There we go. Still got no power on that screen, so I can't see what's going on the stream. Right.
The front's lit up by the one at the front.
Yeah. Right. Oh, I am. Let's turn it off. Oh, great. The monitor won't turn on or off. Got some serious problems here. I think I've overclocked my monitor. Oh, at least I've got a display now. Yay! So on the post screen, which you probably can't see, actually, can you swing that camera around a bit, Kath, so they can see it?
This one?
Yeah, just so they can see that.
No, I moved it and jumped it.
Oh, that's probably enough anyway. So there we go. It's booted into the BIOS and it says new CPU installed. Please press enter. Blah blah blah. SATA 6G TC Sunbow X3 240 gig. Total memory 8,192 megabytes. DDR4 2133. So it's the BIOS. The BIOS. It's the basic settings. And we've got ASUS Prime A320K, ACPI BIOS, CPU AMD Athlon 200G with Radeon Vega graphics, speed 3200 megahertz. So it worked. It has actually worked, but I haven't got a keyboard and mouse that I can plug into it to go any further than that. So.
Do you want me to get a dongle thing in the front room?
Oh, go on then. Yeah, the dongle's on the shelf and the keyboard's down behind. Just so you lot can see what is going on, I'll get it set up a little bit. Let's move that around. Unfortunately, I can't see what is going on the screen other than, yeah, because I can't see the stream now. I need to get another monitor. Definitely need another monitor. If anyone's got any links to any good, cheap monitors that I can use as a secondary backup, that would be very, very useful. Thank you. Don't have any much. Let's see if my USB 2 header connection is working. Ooh. There we go. F1 to run setup. And I haven't got any function keys on here, so this is going to be interesting. There we go, F1. And in the BIOS, motherboard temperature currently is at 30 degrees C. That's pretty cool. Quite literally pretty cool.
Lenovo had a 1080p, 144 Hz for £99.
Well, that sounds quite good. Right, that's rebooting. Again, I can't see what you guys can see very much on the screen, because all I can see is what is on the delayed screen, so we'll see. But it might even boot into Windows. I'm not sure what operating system is actually on that disk, if any. Looks like there's something on there though. Oh, yeah, we've got a Windows logo. It may well just say attempting to set up device drivers, in which case it's from another setup altogether. Well, looks like it's booting now. Happy days. But what do you think? I got my microphone, my lav mic, literally, like, you couldn't really get much closer to the PC than this, but it's very quiet.
Unlike your chair.
I think.
Your chair is noisier.
Yeah, my chair is noisier. Or is that my spine? Oh yeah, getting devices ready, so that is a previous install. And the hard drive LED light is flashing on the top, so I've wired that in correctly. And we have got a LED button here, so we can go cycle through the colours. Wish I could see the inside one. Unfortunately, the VGA, the HDMI isn't long enough. I don't know if I can see it if I turn it around enough. There's quite a delay. Oh, you can just about make it out, can't you?
You haven't even got it round far enough yet. Now you start moving.
There we go. So you can see that, yeah, that's where I nearly dropped it off. Oh, that's one thing I didn't think of doing, to check to see if the front fan was in the right orientation as the back fan, so that the colours cycle at the same time. It's difficult to tell. Although saying that, just put on one colour and be done with it. Yeah, I think that's not too bad actually.
Does the button correspond with the Razer fan?
Does the, what, sorry? Does the button,
correspond with the Razer fan?
what button?
For the lights, I suppose.
Oh yeah, yeah, they should all be synchronized together. Well, it appears to be. Let's go for a single color and then I can see. Yeah, so they're synchronizing now. Yeah, so the front LED, the Razer fan and the rear fan are all linked together. There we go, pretty in pink.
Hey Google, turn off the lights.
Why?
Glenn wants to the dim lights.
Sorry, something went wrong and I'm unable to control your home device.
I don't know why I'm pressing enter on there.
Sorry, something went wrong and I'm unable to control your home device.
Oh, of course, no internet. Huh. Oh, so that was my old Windows installation. Yeah, so you can actually see, well, you can partially see it in that background there. It is actually booted into Windows. And actually, if I turn that round, because you probably want to see the front panel. Is that, Kath, does that look alright? Can you see, no, there. Can you see all the lights and stuff?
Yeah.
Cool. Let's go through some of the lighting sequences then. So that is Unicorn Puke.
Will you answer questions at the end?
Yeah, I will answer questions at the end. Oh, that was nice, whatever that was. It does actually give off quite a lot of light. Surprisingly so. Not as much as the Mike's unboxing sign.
Have you got GTA 5 on there?
No. So I think that must be, yeah, that's live what we can see now. So, not too bad. And actually, considering the drivers are still the, actually quite a lot of air being pushed through there as well. Actually, a lot of air being pushed through. That's really cool.
How much is the case?
How much is the case? The case I think was £30, 30, no.
45, I think.
I think it's $39.99. Let's shut this down. I'll get out of the way. And then we can go through and, hey Google, turn the lights on.
It's 44.94 at the
Something
moment.
went wrong and I'm unable to
Oh, it's cheaper on CCL. Right, is that shut down? Yes, it has. Good. Right, let's get that back so I can see what's going on in the stream. So the power supply didn't light on fire, which was good. I got to be honest with you, I didn't. Oh, there's that gone. I didn't expect it to. And we've got a display. Yes, we have got a display. Fantastic. Okay, so let's go back into that. That's good. Yeah, that's working. Don't know what's going on with this PC, why it crashes. It's very, very odd. Anyway, it's probably because I've got about 50 things all plugged into the same power outlet. So there you go. That is the Gamemax Diamond in white. They also do a black version of this as well. So if you're interested in,
£39.50 on CCL.
yeah, £39.50 at CCL in the UK at the moment, which I think is probably the best price at the moment. Although saying that, I think you have to add on postage to that as well. So you would be looking closer to the kind of £45 mark. So you're probably better off, well, potentially you're better off getting it off Amazon. And at least that way, if it turns out that it's not for you and you don't like it, you can just send it back within 30 days as per the usual kind of Amazon agreement, which is quite handy actually. But yeah, I think that's, for £40, that's a damn fine case. There's nothing really on there I dislike about it. The only thing I disliked is the fact that I chose a ATX motherboard to go in it rather than a micro ATX, which led to a few issues with the cable management for the bottom bit, but actually other than that, this is pretty decent. And it's going to be interesting tomorrow once I get it all set up properly, see what it's actually like for gaming. I think it's going to be pretty good. The R9 380X 4GB card isn't a slouch, and it certainly gives things like the 1050s and 1060s a run for their money in most cases.
Are you spinning that right?
No. Cool. Everything on this case has got a very, very tight tolerance. Okay, so that is that done. Done and dusted. And it worked and it booted up. Happy days. So let's have a quick look through the chat and see what you guys have been saying so I can actually keep up. Tech Music Gaming Channel. That's a new one. I haven't seen that name in here before.
Zephyrs. Can you make a video on how to set up Windows? I think we have, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we Zephyr's asked about making a video on how to set up Windows, which I kind of have done before. It's essentially it's different for every setup, so different computers, different drivers. The actual installation of Windows itself is relatively straightforward, but maybe we could do that again. But yeah, we'll see. Buntu says free shipping if you spend £50 or more at CCL, so that's actually a good idea. Seamanite says good PC for GeForce Now. Actually, that was one of the things that was running through the back of my mind when I was going to do the thumbnail for this video. I was going to put the GeForce Now PC, but based on my initial experiences with GeForce Now, which has not been particularly great for, actually last night I tried again and I actually couldn't get connected at all, which was a real pain. So I was kind of thinking, yeah, it'd be great for GeForce Now, but in the UK, the service isn't particularly good, especially if you're on the free bit, because of people using it too much, or a lot of people using it. It's very difficult to get on there. So I wouldn't recommend a PC for GeForce Now, not yet anyway. Let's got to go and pick her girlfriend up. So thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking with us, even though it was a very, very low end budget build, but we got there in the end. So that's cool. Another question from MKTP. Mike, my GPU starts to overheat when I leave it at idle. Then I wiggle my mouse and attempts to go back down to 33C. If your GPU overheats when it's on idle, that's very bizarre. Where are you getting the temperature readings from? Are you getting them from like a hardware monitor or something like that, or from the ATI Radeon? Oh, ATI, the AMD Radeon software? I'm not too sure. Right, I think that's probably about time to start wrapping things up. So
MSI Afterburner.
Oh, MSI Afterburner. Oh, that's a bizarre one. All I say is have a chat with us in the Discord, and we'll go see if we can go through that and actually work out what is going on there. That's quite a strange one. Don't quite know why that would be happening. I can't see why your GPU would overheat in idle. Yeah, that is quite peculiar. Anyway, hopefully you've all enjoyed the build in the Gamemax Diamond. For those of you that have bought one already and have commented on it, hopefully you have a similar experience to I did. I find it actually pretty straightforward to build in actually. The downside being I wouldn't recommend using a micro ATX board in there. Definitely go for a full-size ATX just to get that nice crispness for the build and for the wiring. It will make life a lot easier. The wires aren't quite long enough really to do justice to micro ATX builds, but again, if you're not particularly bothered about build aesthetics and you just want a nice looking case and you want to put a cheap motherboard in there, absolutely fine, go for it, knock yourselves out. There's a very strong possibility that I'll be selling this PC, so if anyone's interested, drop me a line either in a Discord or PM me or something, Mike at Mike's Unboxing, and if you're interested and you're in the UK and you want it shipped to you, then I'm sure we can sort something out. I've got too much PC stuff here to deal with, and yeah, if there's someone out there who's got a good story and they've got a good use for it, then maybe I'll help you out. But anyway, thank you all for joining us tonight. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, don't forget to give the video a like before you leave, and also don't forget to subscribe and all that kind of stuff as well if you haven't already. So I've been Mike, this is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next live stream. Thanks for watching.